Hello. This is the 114th Test from the Future, an experimental podcast from the year 2223, which we are sending from our present to yours. My name is Dirk.
And my name is Simon.
And we're putting the past in podcast. So, for those of you listening to the podcast every week, today we have a bit of a different format. Because we're not in the same location.
Mm-hmm.
Are we not?
That's correct. I think we've done this once before, but that was a different situation. But right, you're away at a conference.
Yes, I'm at a conference. Actually, I think you're right. Like I've been once on a passing meteor.
That was it. Yeah.
I guess it was also a work-related trip.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember the reason, but this is the yearly Ufopoo conference. And we thought, okay, sure, we're on other parts of the solar system, but that should not stop us recording our weekly episode.
Definitely not. We are committed to releasing an episode every week.
And we even thought, okay, so we can speak about something, but we thought we've mentioned the Ufopoo so many times now. Maybe we just speak about it while I'm at the Ufopoo conference.
Yeah, right. As you say, we've mentioned it in passing. I think we've mentioned you work there, but right, we've never gone in depth on it. So we're going to do that today.
I thought, Simon, before we actually start speaking about the Ufopoo, I thought I described where I am.
Right.
I think
Please do.
I mean, you know a little, but I thought especially now for a lot of people listening, not in the 23rd century, so not really knowing what Venus looks like, because that's where I am.
Yeah.
But also just describing, a conference in the 23rd century. So
right, that might be very different as well from what they're used to.
Exactly. So just to describe the setting a little bit, I'm in a botanical garden, the botanical garden in Venus, and here they call it the dome, because the botanical garden is basically a really big part of the planet that's inhabited. Like not a massive part of the planet is inhabited, but a big part of the inhabited part is the dome. And inside the climate is kind of similar to Earth, although I have to say clearly a bit hotter than average. And there's Earth plants growing here, because in the Venus atmosphere out there was just nothing when the first settlers arrived. But after the dome was constructed, it's basically climatized, and there's all kinds of Earth plants here, and even Earth animals. So I'm not sure if it comes over in the recording, but there's a bunch of birds here.
Yeah, I can hear them.
Okay, cool. Let's hope it gets picked up in the recording as well.
Hopefully so.
But that's the nice part. Not so nice is that there's construction going on. I'm not sure if they're fixing something or if they're expanding the dome, or I don't know. But occasionally there's all kinds of construction noises, and I haven't actually bothered to check it out. And I'm not sure if we mentioned that in the teleportation episode, but teleportation doesn't really work well in space. Actually, it doesn't really work in space. It works on planets, so on Earth or on the Moon, but on Venus not really, for some reason. At least it's too buggy for it to really be in common use. So inside the dome there's a train, and I'm at the conference center. Of course, there's a stop at the conference center, so there's occasionally a train passing by. So that's kind of like a shuttle, but then on rails. So it's actually
like old style.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like it's moving on the surface, so it doesn't actually go up in the air.
Sure, but it's not even a maglev train. It's not even a hover train. It's actually touching metal tracks. Cool.
Exactly, it's actually touching metal tracks. Yeah. So I mean, other than that, it's very similar. I mean, it doesn't go up in the air, but there is nothing up in the air here, so there's no real reason to go high, and but the funny thing is it makes a massive racket when it passes by.
Okay, so we may hear that while we're recording.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not, I have no idea about the schedule, and also I'm outside now because the conference is on a break. So that's also why we're recording now. So I don't really know if it's once an hour, once every 10 minutes, or once a day. I really don't know. I've seen it in the distance, but I don't know.
Sure, you've not needed to pay attention to it so far.
Yeah, exactly. And the one nice thing about the dome in here, it's eternal spring. So just imagine, let's say, a soft spring evening on Earth. Mm-hmm. That's kind of what they have here, with an average temperature of around 30 degrees Celsius. Mm-hmm. So it's a little hot spring evening, which in most cases it's nice. Already mentioned some of the downsides that they're constructing. One of the other downsides is that a lot of visitors here develop hay fever.
Right, because of the plants that are blooming, or the flowers that are blooming. Yeah. Or
exactly. And of course we have our apps that take care of the hay fever once it pops up, but because there are so many different plants here and they're all blooming at the same time all the time, once you arrive here you'll still experience it, and then the app keeps on correcting it. But because there's so many different pollen, it's basically a typical thing that you get when you're climatizing. It's kind of like a bit like a jet lag, or a teleportation lag. Is basically when the first 2 days you're sniffing a lot until your body corrected everything.
Yeah, and until your cyborg chip can handle it all.
Yeah, totally. And the mosquitoes.
Oh dear.
There's a lot of mosquitoes here. So and of course they sting you or bite you or whatever they do. That's not a problem. But this might also come over in the recording. They zoom around a lot. So,
sure. Yeah, I know that noise. So we'll find out if the microphones pick any of that up. But that's what it will be if they do.
Yeah. So Eternal Spring sounds really great, and it is really great in most regards, with a few small downsides.
Sure. But thanks for that. Was a really thorough word picture that you painted for us. Thank you.
Yeah, it's also easy because I'm looking at it, and one thing maybe worth mentioning it's they used to call Mars the red planet, as some people still do. Mm-hmm. But I see the I think I hear the tourist train coming.
Yeah, I can even hear it. Oh, I think I heard it.
There's a lot of conference people inside. I can see them from where I'm.
Oh, what?
I'm a little bit elevated. I'm on a bit of a balcony terrace kind of thing.
Yeah.
Ah, cool. So I'm just using the break to just go outside and sit in the Botanical Garden. But there's a lot of conference people that are just taking the train. I guess they
right. Maybe going somewhere.
Take the opportunity to go sightseeing, or maybe I don't know. But it's outside of the dome. There are a lot of lava fields. So Venus is a very hot planet. There's a lot of lava here, and inside the dome there's not. But of course the dome is completely transparent. So still a lot of the redness and hotness and warmth is still reflecting inside the dome. So you have to imagine basically being in an eternal spring in the Botanical Garden with like an orange sky. The sky is very orange here, and it's not because outside it's very orange, but the lava is reflected in the glass of the dome.
I see. Yeah.
Okay. So for the listeners, we thought of a nice format because the episode is about a Ufopoo, which is where I work. So we thought, you, Simon, ask me questions.
Exactly.
And I can answer them.
Yeah. It's a straightforward format, and right, exactly. I won't be having so much to say, but I'll be asking the questions. Shall we go straight into them?
Excuse me?
Shall I ask the first question? Shall we go straight into the questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, let's do it.
Okay. So then, the very first question is, what does Ufopoo stand for?
Good question. I also like it. You actually know some of this stuff.
Of course, but I'm asking it. I'm interviewing you, basically, yeah? Asking it on behalf of our listeners.
On behalf of our customers. Mm-hmm. Listeners, totally.
They don't pay us, so listeners,
Yes, exactly. It stands for United Federation of Planets Organization.
Right, it's got those two organizations at the end there.
Yeah, that's the typical thing, because it's a lot of the initial work on the actual organization was how to name it, and in the end it is supposed to grow into an organization. So I guess at one point we will drop the second O, but at one point we haven't actually established this organization yet. So this, like, it's like a pre-organization. We're organizing the organization.
I see. So right,
that's why it's in there.
This goes into my next question, which was to ask, what does Ufopoo do? So Ufopoo is setting up Ufopoo, I guess.
Yeah. I guess it's not actually written down specifically like that, but yeah, that's it might just at one point where if we all agree now we got to this point, we'll found a new thing, and then it's the Ufopoo. Hey, the tourists are coming, cycling back.
Oh, okay, quick. Well, I guess a different tour that just left.
Okay. Oh yeah, no, this is not the tourist train.
No?
There's a lot of robots in this one.
Oh wow.
And also print-looking ones. Maybe they're lava workers.
Yeah, they are pretty loud.
Okay.
Or at least when they're going by. I think I can't hear them anymore now.
Yeah, okay, but I think they might just be lava workers. There's a lot of lava mining going on here.
Yeah.
But yeah, the idea is that the Ufopoo is there to set some sort of interplanetary organization of the ground, to get it off the ground, and then it might just be called Ufopoo at some point, but it might also just have a whole different name, or it might never actually come to be, because that's kind of tying into the second point. There's 3 factions represented within the Ufopoo, and that's the 3 different species living in the galaxy that we know of. So that's basically Earth and all its inhabitants. So humans, robots, sentient animals and such. We're all considered one entity, and it doesn't just consist of Earth, but also our colonies at the different
that's what planets. I was about to ask. So other planets in the solar system as well.
Exactly. So it's actually the official representative in Ufopoo on our behalf is actually Sol, so not the UN, for example. And the other 2 alien races are the Parsians and the Illuminati. We had a whole episode about those, so I won't go into more detail. But those are basically the 3, us and the Parsians and the Illuminati. They're the 3 factions in there. We know of a 4th species living somewhere in the galaxy that none of us has ever contacted. But that's about it. So it's just 3 factions, but that's enough to get a whole lot of discussions. Like if there's 2,
it makes it harder to decide things.
Exactly, and we're all very different, very, very different, and then it's really hard to agree on something, not specifically because we disagree with each other, but because we misunderstand each other a lot.
Sure, do the Orjones not help in that regard? Like they help?
They help. We can definitely understand what the other one is saying, but doesn't actually mean that we get the meaning.
Sure.
It's like a simple matter of yes and no. That, for example, yes and no don't exist in the Illuminati language, which basically means that, like, getting an answer on something doesn't mean there's. Oh, this is nuts. There's not a tourist train coming.
I mean, it makes sense, yeah. Like you said, it's a break between sessions, so it makes sense that maybe they queued up some more trains to take people there and bring people for the next session.
But I can definitely recognize now, because this one was green and the first one was green, and the one in the middle was red. So I can now, because I see them in the distance, they're really fast though. But you can basically, first you get the sound, then you see the dot on the horizon, and by the color of the dot, at least I've distinguished 2 colors now. So
yeah, so far.
Green is tourist. Yeah, so far. Yeah, let's see. But at the end of the episode, maybe we have the whole rainbow.
Possibly so.
But But that's how with the Illuminati, that's just easy. It's like if you ask a question, like with the Parsians, in a lot of cases they have a really clear yes or no, but they don't care about a whole lot of things. So
Right.
they don't really mind. And with the Illuminati, they really mind about a whole lot of things, but they don't have a yes and no. So
Okay.
you always have to kind of figure out what they really mean. So you basically have us. We seem to be very considerate of the other side of the story, which is typically a soul thing or an earth thing, where we consider the other position. And then you speak with one party who doesn't care, and one other party who's not really clear, and then it's really hard to move forward. But that's also some of the fun of it, of course. It's a bit of a puzzle sometimes.
Yeah. I can imagine. And that leads me to my next question, which is, so you've described the setup of the Ufopoo with the three various factions. What is it that you do in your job?
I'm the ethics advisor. So that's basically my role within the Ufopoo. I have to say that every faction fills every role. So there's an ethics advisor of the Illuminati and also an ethics advisor from the Parsians. And that's it's basically a standard procedure in any governmental organization on Earth, that there's always an ethics advisor that makes sure that whatever we do is ethical. Basically, that's
Sure.
my job. That's what I studied for.
Sure.
And that,
Okay, and then what are the current topics that you're needing to deal with then?
well, basically, what we've been doing so far is the organization's name. I mean, that's been a big topic, like I mentioned.
How many years has that been? Or how long has it been then that the name has been the question?
I mean, the Ufopoo has been around we recently had our 12th anniversary, so a little bit more than 12 years. And I guess the first couple of years we were nameless. So I would like to say that let's say 5 years. I don't have the exact date, but the first 5 years was settling on the organization's name and the organization's purpose. Mm-hmm. And then the main point was documenting the interspecial sensitivity. Mm-hmm. So it's basically how is everybody approaching life in general, space travel, interplanetary or relations. How is everybody communicating? What are the requirements of moving forward, and so on? And it's as a massive document basically. So that's what we've been spending our tax money on, and sure. It's basically, I think if progress is slow, and sometimes there's no progress, sometimes it's just something to do with your time, it almost feels. But what the real nice thing is that especially in Earth history, this is the first time where people from Earth encountered a whole massive group of new, a group of new people or a new species, and didn't immediately start attacking it. That used to be always the standard.
Yeah, when humans would find other humans who they hadn't met before. That tended to be the pattern.
Yeah, and then they started finding among villages, among countries, and among continents. And then once we were done with all of that, we had world peace, and then we encountered aliens, and then the whole
that was a fear, that it would start up again with more.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And then this is the first time where like a whole new world opened up to us, and instead of attacking it, we said, "Hey, let's talk." So just that is actually the case now, is progress. But on the other hand, the Illuminati and the Parsians had been in contact for a long time already, and they knew about us for a long time already, and only when they thought these guys are ready, they contacted us. So it was basically their initiative. Luck. So they already... Yeah, exactly. They already assessed the situation, so they haven't attacked each other for a whole long time now. Let's give it a try. But they had never any kind of organization that's a typical Earth thing. Let's organize ourselves. Let's give it a name. Let's document what we're doing. That was our initiative. So that's what we're bringing to the table, basically.
Sure. Yeah. And then, so you're at a conference right now, like we mentioned, and then, okay, is this conference, does it have a specific subject, or what's going on?
Well, it's the conference does it never has a specific subject or a specific goal. I mean, they used to have, but that usually led to disappointment because progress was slow. It was usually meant that we defined upfront what it was going to be about, and it wasn't actually about that, and then it fell out of sync. And then, so what we're doing now is we're being a little bit more agile, where we're saying we'll just deal with whatever is there to deal with. We'll just make progress or not, basically whatever we can handle. Cool. This is a purple one coming up.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Okay. So we've got green, orange, and purple, and oh man, this one doesn't have any windows. I can't see what is in this one. Huh.
No windows at all?
No.
Okay.
No windows at all.
So some sensitive...
Maybe it's transport.
Whatever's inside, something sensitive.
Yeah, maybe it's... Okay. Maybe it's scandium. Maybe they're transporting scandium.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so basically just... I have the program right here on my lens.
Sure.
So it's 5 days. So on day number 1, it's basically recapping the previous conference, so last year's conference. So basically mentioning the highlights, and then making sure we all agree that was basically what we did last year. Then we have a day break. That was yesterday. So today we plan the next conference. So that's always in the middle when everybody's still fresh, and when last year's conference is still in mind. And we plan next year's conference, so location and such, logistics. Then on the 4th day there's a banquet and a party, and then there's always the location itself, because the location changes. This year it's sponsored by Venus, so we do a lot of Venus stuff. The slogan. No, I'm lost in the slogan.
It's not there on the program.
I'm your fire at your desire. That's it.
Oh, say
I'm
again?
your fire at your desire.
Okay.
I'm your fire at your desire. That's it. Mm-hmm. So we're doing a lot of tourist things tomorrow. So besides the banquet and the party, we have we're doing Venus stuff, and that's also because it's for free. We can come here for free. I mean, not travel, but be here for free. Usually, it's very expensive to have a conference at the Dome, but we're promoting essentially Venus. They want to expand tourism also to Illuminati and Parsons, and of course also increase the amount of tourists coming from Earth or the Moon traveling to Venus. So we're doing a lot of things. I think we're going lava surfing tomorrow, for example. Mm-hmm. And then on the last day, so the 5th day, so that's the day after tomorrow, we work out a press release that we release at the end. So basically I kind of summarize the press conference, so what we did, and also looking forward to next year's conference. And of course, we're obliged to mention Venus a lot on this one. Otherwise, we won't get a really good location next year.
Sure.
So that's kind of what the program says. So those are the highlights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have one last question, which is, I think you mentioned the hubs, and what do they look like? Was basically the question.
Yeah. That's a nice. A nice side question. I think we got 1 or 2 listener questions about this, because we had a whole episode about hubs. Mm-hmm.
Where we talked about ones in Frankfurt mostly.
Yeah, that's true actually. Yeah, but it's a hub is basically what used to be kind of like a headquarters, and I guess kind of it is, but it's no longer like it's for companies and organizations. But it's no longer so for you to work there, because you can work wherever you want, but it's whenever you want to get together. That's what you do at a hub. You have storage facilities and meeting places. If you want to meet face to face, you usually do it at a hub. And Ufopoo has several ones on Earth, because it needs to cater to the Illuminati and the Parsons, and the Illuminati planet is illuminated.
Sure.
Come to think of it, that might just be where their name comes from.
It would follow.
No, it comes from something else.
Okay.
But but I don't know anymore. But it's but it's basically their planet is illuminated all the time, so they don't want to go anywhere where it's dark. So we have hubs on Earth in different time zones, and they actually they partially follow the model that we have here. So a smaller dome with a botanical garden in there, also a typical thing for the Illuminati. So it's illuminated and it's in nature. So and for Port Villa, that's kind of natural. So the dome is actually open there. They just close it when there's a storm. In Spa, the dome is also open and closed, and it's open in the summer and closed in the winter. And in Houston High and in Tunguska, it's closed permanently because that environment is just not really suited for a botanical garden. Houston High is too hot. Tunguska is way too cold for a botanical garden. So, but it also makes it really interesting that while the actual botanical garden is roughly the same, the outside environment is very different. And I like to go outside, and then especially if I'm at Tunguska, I'm wearing shorts during a meeting there, but then I wear ski clothing when I go out for a walk, for example.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Does it?
Does it
answer the question?
That answered it very thoroughly. Yeah. And
had you been to Venus before?
I don't remember. No, it's been a while. So it's been a while since I last travelled outside, meaning further out in the solar system. I guess that would be closer in. Yeah, but either way, I don't think I have.
So, but because they're building like a mini Venus near Paris.
Okay.
Near Paris.
Yeah, that would be much easier to get to.
Oh, I'm not. Although I'm not sure if I was supposed to mention that already. I think they're going to announce that tomorrow.
Oh, as part of the closing event.
Yeah.
Is tomorrow the last day?
Okay, so
I won't mention it.
No, the day after.
Okay.
Excellent. The day after tomorrow is the last day, but tomorrow we have the destination program. So we're having to do a lot of the Venus stuff that gets a lot of attention, and then I think then they announce this. So when are we releasing this episode? Oh, it's actually.
It'll be fine.
Not people in our time.
Well, I mean, we're sending it back in time, so we should. We should be fine. We should be fine. No one, I'm sure, none of our listeners will spoil the surprise.
Yeah, exactly. Just exactly to our listeners, don't tell anyone. We're only releasing this 200 years later. Mm-hmm. This information, but it's they're building a bit of a mini Venus near Paris, and there are years there you still pay to get in, and you have the whole Venus experience, and then it's kind of like for you to experience it, and then to be able to or then to want to go to the actual Venus, which is a whole lot more expensive.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's I see there were some other people sitting on the terrace, and they're heading inside now.
Do you need to head back in soon yourself?
Yeah, actually, it's not for another 10 minutes.
Okay, you got some time.
At least according to my lens. But
but is it about getting a good seat, maybe, or actually, why did you? It's your break. Did you want to get anything to eat or drink before you go back in?
Yeah, I think that's what they were doing. Yeah, I see now. They started to put drinks out. Sure. Okay, so everybody's getting a drink before going in. So that's actually not a bad idea.
No. Well, right, and actually, that one other thing I wondered. Now you mentioned it. Are there any so food-wise, any specialities or delicacies that are local to Venus, or especially the hub you're at, or drinks, since you just mentioned them?
What they do with, is basically there's birds fighting here.
Oh dear.
I'm not sure there's birds fighting here. I don't even recognize that species.
Maybe one local to Venus.
A big, bright blue bird with a bit of a quiff.
Like a quiff, like hair combed up, you mean? I mean, in this case, feathers, but not that I can think off the top of my head, no.
Okay. Okay, I'm not sure the fighting gets picked up, but it's getting a bit of an attention here.
Sure.
But what they're really doing with food and drinks is that's basically their. I mean, I'm not sure if it's a gimmick or their trademark or whatever, but they prepare everything outside the dome.
Okay, and then
which means,
bring it inside.
Exactly. So which means everything is hot. So they didn't really invent new food, but it's. I think it's kind of mandatory to kind of keep up the image, but there's no cold food here. Everything is hot and steaming.
Yeah.
And the nice thing is they don't have to do anything to it. So they just take the food outside, and because it's so hot, it automatically starts cooking or frying or whatever, and then they just take it back inside. So some stuff they leave out there for 1 minute, sometimes for 5 or 10 or half an hour, and then they bring it back in, and then this is. So that's why also everybody's getting up now, because they just brought in a whole new tablet of drinks that have just come from outside.
Ah, very nice. Sure, that sounds like an ideal place to have a barbecue as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what we'll do tomorrow for the banquet. So this is tourists again. I'm just describing it. I guess it becomes less exciting every time there's another train coming by. I think the first time I mentioned it, I thought, "Oh, exciting, a train." We haven't had a train in our podcast, but I think we've had 5 now. That should be enough.
Yeah. Oh, what's that? That's an interesting sound.
I don't know. I think that's for the birds.
Right. Is it telling them something?
Okay. No, they're chasing them away.
Ah, okay. So the ones that were fighting are gone.
Yeah, but they were fighting on the tracks. I guess that's the thing. But the fact that they have a sound for it means that happens a lot.
Yeah, must do.
So looks like these birds just take to the tracks. So they're using that sign to clear off the birds, and it works because they both flew off. They both flew off now. Huh. Okay, cool. You're never too old to learn new things.
Definitely not.
Yeah. So, but then I'm now the only one left sitting on the terrace. So I think I'm going to get one of those hot drinks now.
Sure. Let's wrap things up.
Totally. Then, any closing questions from your side?
Not closing questions, but if we're wrapping up, I can say the usual thing.
Oh yeah, good one.
Yeah. So, people listening to us in the past, hope you enjoyed this episode. Of course. I'm not going to say what to do if you didn't, but if you did, please email us at michaellasagna5@gmail.com. Put the number 114 in the subject, and any comments or questions you have for us, put those in the email itself.
Okay, then I would say thanks for listening, and see you in 200 years.
Bye-bye.